So today's job is to Audify a phylogeny. There's a bit of a backstory to this. I'll maybe give a quick version. So back in 2020, July, I was listening to a science podcast and it described, I think it was a NASA, who represented some data on, planets through audio. Now I thought, has anyone depicted a phylogeny through audio? I had a look, had a search, and I could only find one conference paper which described the process of denoting tones according to the nodes, but they didn't actually make available these. So as far as I could see, it's not really been done before. It's certainly not standard. I've never seen anyone publish a tree in an audio file along with this. So I added this as a component to a version of a synthesis phylogeny of insects. This was rejected in 2022. A bit later, I reworked that paper without that component. That is submitted. But another time I got a request. Often get requests to submit a manuscript to some collection or journal or collection or whatever, and I got a request to submit an article to a collection which was quite oddly specific for what I had done here. So I quickly got this together as a small manuscript, as a kind of a note or a comment or something, and submitted it. So the manuscript described, we didn't describe it, it converted a bunch of insect phylogenies to audio. Now the data, when I did this, what I have online, which you can probably see if you're watching this, listening to this on online video. On my pages I do have these, but these are all at this point are kind of out of date, so I want to update some of these. Now it's been 1 or 2 years since I've actually done this. Apart from I've done one a couple of days ago for Hemiptera. So just to say, I'm not particularly familiar with the code I've written is the main thing. When I wrote this code, it must have been 2020. It was not documented in videos, so unfortunately I missed the opportunity to really go through in detail. I remember trying several different approaches, which none of which worked. Finally found an approach, and that's what I will try and show today. But firstly, we need a ultrametric phylogeny as a main input. I don't have this specifically time calibrated, but it is ultrametric, which is fine for time being. I run process Nuic to make a table. So let's briefly go through this. So a whole load of values, large, for about 12,000 rows. Maybe we can get a better clue what this is doing if we look into the script. Here's the command, which is printing these. So first 5 columns of the table produced is relevant for video. Column 6, 7, 8, 9 is for producing the audio. So for the audio, we have a variable called sum branch length. Now sum branch length, as I'm trying to rack my brain what this is, and it sounds like if a phylogeny is passed from the root to tip axis, then the current position would be the sum branch length. So if you imagine a phylogeny with the tips going down the right hand side, this would be the position along the x-axis. Then we have position on the y-axis. So effectively we have x and y positions corresponding to nodes. So that's what we have in that large table. Now next, we run the Audify phylogeny, which is an R script. So let's take a look at this. This is available on my GitHub page. I'll put a link for that. So we use two R libraries for this, Scales and TuneR. The main input file is the vidifier table we just saw. Color function, that's for the video. So I should mainly state that this is producing output for both audio and video. As I say, and these are taken from different columns of the table. So we're looping through the rows of the input table, and each of these rows corresponds to a node. So we're representing phylogeny as audio. So we're taking certain variables we consider. So if you imagine a phylogeny being plotted, as we normally see, we can take the position along the y-axis, up down, to give a tone, and then if we imagine moving along time along the x-axis, moving from terminal to tip position, we can create a tone each time we encounter a split at that, and give that. So essentially, we're moving from the start of the phylogeny to the current era, and producing tones when they are encountered effectively over time, if it's time calibrated, but over the length of the tree. So this is going through all the branches and interpreting in that way. Now, I've tried. Now, I'm not a sound engineer or anything, so this is a bit awkward to figure out how to do. Now, I'm sure there'll be a much better way to do this, but this is the first way I found which actually worked, and it was necessary to produce a tone. So usually I make this, say, about a 1 minute file. So it produces a tone for each bifurcation, which is interpreted as audio, and the tone corresponds to the whole length of that 1 minute. And to do this, you need to define the silence period before the tone starts, so the tone being when the split occurs along the x-axis, then the duration of effectively the length of the branch, and the silence after the tone has finished, and also I made a decay in the tone. It sounds a bit more Sounds a bit more interesting and informative. So you have these three periods for each tone, each lasting for the whole duration of the audio. So it gives you effectively hundreds or thousands of individual audio files, one corresponding to each split, each corresponding to a tone effectively, and these need to be combined in the next step. And also because it is producing so many tones, I found actually you can ignore quite a lot of them. You just need to produce the ones which are, if you go up to the top here, produce the long ones. These are generally noticed. Make sure you do the ones which are on the kind of the left hand side of the plot, because there's not so many, and the size of the node size. And as you move towards the tips, you get a lot more branching events. So if some of these are missed, then it is really not noticeable. So just to say that it's not necessary to Audify every single split, but that's just an overview of that script, and let's run this. Okay, this is now finished, and you can see the folder is populated with a whole load of audio tracks, all the same size, all the length, the full length of the finished product, but each just having a single tone in there. So these need to be combined, so we have about just under 700 tones. So this won't be all the nodes of the phylogeny, but this will be not noticeable. The tones close to the tips, because there's so many, it's impossible to differentiate them. So after doing this, now I did look into some command line methods of integrating these. I didn't find one that worked well, so I actually use Audacity. So as I say, I need to do this to update a bunch of I did this for phylogenies for several suborders, for several orders of insects. I did this 1 or 2 years ago. Now I've since greatly improved the methods, so the phylogenies I'm producing currently are a lot better than the previous ones. So I'm going to update some of these. So I've done Hemiptera. Just produced the individual tracks for Diptera. So these will go through the same process, but if you integrate them in that way in Audacity, you'll get this. So I'll try and play this. I'm not sure the audio will come through on this recording. Maybe I can attach it over the top. If it doesn't, well, let's see what we end up with. So we have a audio file about 1 minute long, and this denotes so each tone corresponding to a bifurcation on a tree, and you can see with the earlier videos this kind of makes sense when you look at it and hear the sound. This corresponds. So high tones for if the bifurcation is more near the top, low tones if it's at the bottom, and then moving along the time axis. and a bit of blank audio at the end. Okay, so we've produced all the audio tracks, so I think I'm gonna call it there, and I will repeat this process for several different insect orders and update this online. So I've made these available at 3 media sharing sites. I made these available at Bilibili, YouTube, and SoundCloud. Now, as for this, I've just submitted this manuscript, so I need to update some of these, and I've chosen to focus on the audio, as this is otherwise sight impaired learners cannot experience phylogenies, and it gives us an extra option, learning option. So I'll make these available. I'll update these and put them onto SoundCloud primarily. But okay, but for now, job done, and till next time.